happy with your life? Don't you want it all?
I'm running out of time.
I changed something.
My name's Valerie Vacante. I am the founder of a company called Collabsco, Austin-based. Yeah, we're a strategy and innovation firm, and I'm really fortunate to actually work and collaborate with some of these great people on the stage and global brands as well as startups who are creating connected play, AR experiences, robots, all kinds of cool stuff we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to turn it over here to Gerry.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Gerry Cody. I am the design director in Hot Wheels on a team called Advanced Play.
Hi, everyone. I'm the president of X2 Games and chief creative officer.
My name's John Keefe. I'm from a studio called Draw and Code. And yeah, I'm here talking about SwapBots and kind of the connected play space. So.
Cool. Thanks, you guys. So I'm going to actually open it up and go through a lot of numbers. We'll try and make them big numbers, super fast, and hopefully there's some cool graphics, so not too boring. And then we'll jump into some cool demos with these guys. So fun fact, you guys may or may not know, but the digital games market is a $160 billion business. So a massive opportunity for if you're a gamer, a player, a creator to kind of jump in and get on the scene here. Another fun fact here, connected play, which we're going to talk about today, it was a $6 billion industry last year, projected to grow 200% according to Juniper Research. So that's an $18 billion industry. So if you want to make some connected toys, connected experiences, lots of opportunity for that too. Okay, so here's another one, and I know John will speak to this in a little bit. But AR gaming, so everybody, it's all about having this augmented and immersive world. So AR gaming on track to be a $280 billion industry. Amazing. Okay, so Zai, this is awesome for your category here. Voice assistant use growth, crazy, 1,000%. So it's on track to reach 275 million voice assistant devices in use by next year. So that's crazy. Oh, sorry, by 2023, correction.
We're happy about that. Yeah, I mean, voice-activated gaming is the thing that we're focusing on right now at X2, and me and my partner, Nolan Bushnell, are heading that up, and we're excited about it. I mean, we see the users out there, and we really want to gamify, voice activation, and this is kind of our introduction into it. So, we're a startup, and we are, looking forward to launching this game, Saint Noir. I think it'll be super fun.
Cool. Okay, so now I'm going to turn over to these guys. Gary's going to tell you guys about their latest product, Tech Mods. So I'll just kind of hold it up here so you guys can check it out.
Cool. Okay, guys, so this is Tech Mods. This is going to be new for this year, coming out of Hot Wheels. Basically what we did is it's the first gaming RC. What does that mean? We kind of take the best of both things that older boys like. They love video games, they love RC cars, and we kind of mash them up in this cool new experience. So right out of the box, you get a cool unboxing experience you can see here. Where first you're going to build your car, right? So you're going to assemble your car, you're going to put the frame together, the subframe, the chassis. You can see the body is very unique. It's this multifaceted, low poly aesthetic, and so the kids can build the panels and complete the build of their car, and then it's time to turn on the app. So right out of the gate, you can go to RC mode. You can select an avatar who behaves the way you drive, which is kind of funny. So if you're kind of a erratic driver like myself, your avatar kind of responds to that, and you can start playing RC mode. And what's cool is there's another mode called treasure hunt mode, where now I have challenges and objectives and goals and things I have to do, kind of like in a video game. And when I'm doing those, I am unlocking rewards, loots, shields, boosts, and all these things, and that is applied to my car in the race itself. Where when I get to the race, as you can see here in the bottom screen, I can hold my car, and there's an IMU in the car, so that's how you actually control it. So it's a fun way to control the car as well. So all that is to say, that is Tech Mods, and coming to you next month with a partnership through Indiegogo, $50, and that's what we got.
So, so we have one here. There's going to be the meeting area on the side. So you want to come check it out. Totally connected. So if you guys want to try RC mode, try video gameplay mode. I like the video gameplay mode. It's really cool because it has, you can barely see in the graphics there, but it kind of has that feeling of the older video games, like the early day video games. And I like the fact that it gives you that kind of nostalgic feel, but it's new. And then through the car being the remote guiding it, that's just kind of fun. Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. So now we're going to play a video from Zai's team. Would you like to do any kind of intro before we play it? Or?
Sure. It's a teaser for our game Saint Noir.
And it was a little tricky with the remote earlier, so bear with us. Okay.
And that was the last time I saw her alive. I loved her. I swear, if I knew anything, I would tell.
She's lying. She said she met Karen at the steakhouse.
Strange place for a vegan to go for dinner.
Why don't you ask her about the hairpin?
No. You ask her about the killers. No. Never made sense to me. If she writes left-handed like she says.
How come you're drinking out of your right?
Good work, detective. The barista did it.
In Saint Noir, everyone's a detective.
So that's our mysterious town of Saint Noir. So coming into this, I come from film background. I've been in it for over 20 years, and coming into X2 Games, we were trying to find a place where we can explore. And what we came to, we were exploring for a couple months, and we saw that there was a great opportunity in voice. And for me, I'm really into new technology and AI and immersive and storytelling. I mean, that's my background, is truly storytelling as a visual communicator. And so I had the challenge of figuring out new ways of thinking and figuring out how to, discover, a way to make a game that can work traditionally as well with technology. We wanted to hit both corners. And so, a mystery game was one that was fun to tackle. And we wanted to create a game that you had, almost infinite amount of choices, where it would be, possible to make your own distinguish of your outcome. And that was the part in storytelling that we really dove into. Inside this game, we basically did everything in a way where we hired a traditional film writer, we hired directors, we hired engineers from different parts that came from AR, and even though those are not the qualities that were used to build a game, but I believe in not, working with, traditional aspects of things and really putting people together to really just make something great and explore. So we put all these great minds together, and we ended up, I feel as for, a startup, a really cool concept. And we started the game, 6 months ago, and we're basically having, exclusive with Amazon, and we are selling it right now on Amazon, and it's in pre-orders, and this is the game right here. This is the packaging. I could open it up really quick.
Here, I'll help.
So right here is, so this is the board game. Inside is a couple of components, how we designed it. When I look at the board game, a lot of it, it's a premium package. It's, has a lot of foil and UV, and the reason for that is that we wanted to make sure that, we were making a quality game that is, filmic in noir and, resonates with the sound quality that we're doing, because the sound quality was done on a sound stage. So you don't hear Alexa's voice through the skills. You actually hear 12 different people plus one is the detective, which is a mirror of you. You are the detective in this game. So your challenge is to find who was the killer out of this small town. And the mysterious part of it all is that you have the challenge of figuring out who was the liar and figuring out who was the killer and the suspect. So we included our tokens, which are weapons, and we included our suspect cards in here, which are really cool. So think about it almost like you're using the board game to eliminate and discover. We also have our instruction manual and notepad right inside of it. So a lot of the power for this game is really coming out of the skills component, really where we kind of focused to make sure that it was a unique experience for the player. And we're going to have some new things coming out in the future that we're excited about. So this is our first, so we're excited about this one right now. So thank you.
Thanks. And then, as you guys can see, what's really interesting about Zai's background, obviously coming from film, absolutely. I mean, the quality that comes through this game, the sound. The first time I saw the trailer for this, I could immediately see how Zai's skill set from film really played out in that voice experience. So yeah, very cool. John, we are going to have a little video. Do you want to do a setup, or do you want me to play it first and then?
Play the video, and then we can talk a bit more after.
Here we go.
So that was SwapBots. I hope that's woken everyone up. I think it certainly has with me. So yeah, this is SwapBots, and as you can see, it's a customizable toy that we're bringing to life using augmented reality. Our studio business behind this is called Draw and Code, and we've been working in AR for the best part of 8 years and a bit beyond. And I think the first time we showcased our work at Augmented World Expo, I think it was 2013 or 14. And after the show, it was kind of, saw all these kind of wonderful devices and wires and platforms, but no real content. And I think we were sat in a bar, probably, chatting about use cases of augmented reality. And I've got 3 kids, and we were kind of got talking about Toy Story and how, you know, we've always been a long way off. Toys to Life has never really been this thing where our toys felt like they were coming to life. So we were like, well, actually, AR gives us the power to do this with current generation mobile technology. And that's kind of, I think that just kicked around the studio for a year. And then we started to experiment with how we might implement it. And I say, these are little characters here. So we went down that route of experimenting with 3D printing prototypes and just playing around with how we could have augmented reality work at such small scale and still have an aesthetic to the toy that was, you know, that interesting to kids. So that's kind of 4 or 5 years has passed since then, and I don't think we ever really thought at the time that we maybe would go all the way with this, but it just built momentum. And the first time we showed the toys, we got kind of great feedback, and it's been kind of an evolution ever since. I think we've gone through many iterations with it, like because we came from more interactive design and a digital agency business, if you like, more traditionally. There was lots of problems to solve. You know, I think obviously you're more video games background, but you're very much toys. So we completely underestimated what goes into designing a toy and shipping a toy. And then when you then take toys and then plug in all the complications of video games, we really opened kind of Pandora's box for ourselves. But we're actually at a point now where we will be shipping January 2020 and doing some online sales as well. So it's kind of amazing that to go through the full journey and probably learn a lot of what you guys know, but a very expensive, long-winded way of doing that, I think.
Well, no, that's actually a great point, because Gerry, you know, you're working with Hot Wheels, a very iconic brand. It's been around for years. I think probably everybody in this room has had a Hot Wheel, played with a Hot Wheel, had to track any of that at some point in their life. Like, very iconic brand. So how, like, from your perspective and where you sit in technology and design at Mattel, share with us a little bit about how you guys are creating these kind of connected experiences, sort of what inspires it, you know, how does that come about?
So Hot Wheels just turned 50 last year. So
yeah.
thank you. An iconic brand that everyone, for the most part, everybody has had some kind of memorable experience with, is very powerful. For us, it starts and stops with the consumer. We're laser focused with the consumer. We play with kids. We talk to moms. We talk to dads. We observe, and that's really at the forefront of what we're doing. Cool. In terms of experimenting and you know, my team, we are tasked with kind of poking the bear and seeing what is the Hot Wheels play experience of the future, and what if we try this, and what if we try that, and sometimes that conflicts with what some people might think of as a kind of traditional, natural Hot Wheels type experience. So that is where it really gets interesting, because in some ways we break our own rules, and we find out that something really resonates with a kid and is kid relevant, and then we'll just drive towards that, pun intended.
Oh, boom.
Yeah.
Cool. No, thanks for sharing that. And then with Zai, from your perspective, one of the things that I thought was really interesting when we were chatting was the fact that X2 Games, okay, you guys are, what, a year, maybe less than a year, right at a year old? Okay, so these guys, you know, you started out in blockchain, right? Is where it started? And then over a couple of months, segue to voice. I mean, still obviously doing all of the immersive, you know, AR, VR, obviously with your background and visual perspective. But the thing I thought was so cool is that these guys, it was like, what, 6 months in? And then you jumped into voice, right?
We did. I mean, we always wanted to do a little bit of voice. It was always just nipping there. And but when we really like pushed the envelope and saying, this is what we're going to focus on, because as a startup, you go in different angles. You're kind of exploring and figuring out which way to go. And the beauty of it is that, you know, the people that we had on staff and working with us, we started to explore different parts of it, parts of voice and different angles. And what we saw as a startup in a small group is that what would be the best place for us to actually get a product out for customers to enjoy and the best of its ability, and make sure that we're putting all our efforts into it instead of doing a huge, a video game that's on the Switch or something that's going to take, for us as a small group will take years, because even though I come from the background with 3D animation and visual effects, which I come from that. I was a creative director through my own company in Dark Matter for Bethesda, working on Elder Scrolls Legends, and I know the potential there. I know what we can do, but in a small group, we wanted to make sure that we were going to hit home and be able to really have a product to market and make sure that we can make it the best. So what happened is that we saw so many users out there having in the US having a smart speaker. And I have a smart speaker. I have 3 of them in my home, and my daughter has one in her own room. And what we notice is that it's not as people don't think it as a game device at all, and it's not. It hasn't been gamified. It's more about turning on your lights or turning on your music on a and for us, we wanted to kind of shift that perspective. And so we went at it and we started building some voice, and not even approaching Amazon at the time. And this was just on us, just trying to discover. And once we made sure we had something really solid, and we actually, after we did all the recording in a sound booth, and we had all the writing done, and that's when we approached Amazon, is when we were pretty much close to being complete in our first phase. We started, and start to finish, it was about 6 months, which we are super proud of, that we were able to stay nimble with a small group and get this out the door fairly quick. So right now we're in pre-orders, and then shipment happens in a couple months with the product, because it's in manufacturing right now. So that's where we're at. So the game is completed. It's done.
I mean, it's phenomenal. 6 months, start to finish, and then as we said, we'll be meeting on the side here, so you can actually, when you touch, like Zai was saying, the foil and the cards, and like you guys had to find manufacturers and having it shipped and establishing the relationships with Amazon. I mean, all that 6 months, it's just like amazing.
Yeah, I had to play many roles. Yes.
Lots of
fun.
hats.
Yes, multitask.
So yeah, that's a great segue to John, because you wear many hats, don't you?
I've got a lovely hat collection, actually. Yeah, so there's and with multiple hats, we worked together on different projects. So I think that the thing that drew us into this space, it wasn't, so obviously we're bringing our toys to life in this particular project, but we do this with kind of placemaking and location-based experiences also. So we create immersive experiences. Most recently, we worked with Terracotta Warriors, creating kind of really large-scale storytelling pieces where that was particularly focused on the warriors themselves, and like, this is an amazing story, like going 2,000 years back. But we wanted to bring immersion and play back to kind of not just for kids, it's kind of for adults as well. And I think kind of really drawing people into these experiences using AR, whether it's mobile like we're doing here, or we're doing kind of quite a lot with things like the wearable AR devices, so Magic Leap and HoloLens 2. These are new tools to tell stories, essentially, and bringing people into them. And I think that the interesting, like, this is a great piece to just put you right at the heart of the story. That's what we want to do with everything. So with the toys, there's 9 characters with 3 parts each. So that gives us 729 combinations to play with. That's a lot of stories we can tell, and a lot of problems we can solve, from within the kind of video game part of the experience. Yeah. So yeah, it's quite broad what we do as a studio, but I say anything immersive, bringing things to life. AR is pretty much central to everything. It's not always visual, could be around audio as well. But yeah, we've got some exciting projects coming up, which we're not allowed to talk about, are we?
We're not allowed to talk. I think.
Not allowed
I think
to
the
talk
close. I think. Yeah. I think,
You're not listening,
Are
are
we
you?
streaming somewhere? I don't know. But no. Good. Yeah. Good. Actually, yeah. John and we're working with a traditional board game company. We can say that.
Yep, that's true.
I think that's all we can say about that. But we're working together on it. It's going to be great.
So from a very different way to Saint Noir's kind of created, we're taking a different approach to bringing more immersion and interaction from their amazing traditional game that's been around for, I think, like 100 years in some form or another. So
some form, different countries
Yeah.
around the world. So so hopefully next year we'll be able to show, maybe 6 months. Zay, I don't know if we can top that. I'll tell you.
we definitely can't.
We can't. We can't. But it'll be awesome. But the one thing that I think's interesting about what you guys do at Draw and Code, and also SwapBots, you touched on it, creating those immersive experiences, right? The terracotta experience in a museum, the Magic Leap experience. But what's really awesome about SwapBots, and it's been great seeing all the progress of it, is that what you guys do a really good job of is bringing, having that loop of physical digital play. So I don't know if you want to explain that a little bit about the customization and how that works in and out of the game.
Yeah, so that was one of the big challenges, and actually, our first thoughts around how this would work from a physical digital experience, we tested the assumptions and found out our assumptions were totally wrong. But it's the only way to go through that. You have to assume that you know what you're doing, build out something so that a prototype, and then get it in front of your core audience. So, you see the way that kids interact with both video games and toys, and you realize that actually there's a missing element here. So the game starts by the creation of a toy, and that then takes you into that initial experience, the customization, beyond just the physical, there's digital customizations as well. The creative play was always central and important to it, because that's, kids really, imagination is everything. We wanted to try and almost feel like the kids were projecting their imagination onto the screen itself and onto those toys. And the setup of a game is often the biggest part. When kids are playing with toys, they're setting up a game, creating a world in their minds, and then probably the game part is just chaos and destruction in the last 5 minutes. So I think it was trying to make sure that we had the game loop right, and the physical toy element right. So you build your toy, you take it into different experiences. So there's a battle game at the minute. If you lose, you figure out what it was about the character that just defeated you, and you can swap out that piece. So if you think, well, I need wings to get an aerial attack, you swap in a piece that's got wings, or I need to, this is an ice character maybe, and we'll bring on a dragon's
unicorn,
head.
that's my favorite.
The unicorn. Well, the unicorn surely can't be defeated by anything, because it's just so cool. But yeah, so that's the great thing is these kids get to solve the problems of how do I get to this next bit by changing the physical toy around. Yeah.
So Gerry, share with us again, we talked a moment ago about working with an iconic brand and really trying to push those experiences. So how do you guys go about that? Because last year there was Augmented, and that was really that idea of having that connected play experience. You had kind of controlling the cars in a new way. You had the AI Hot Wheels. So if you can share with us, maybe let everybody know about those products and maybe some of the learnings and just how things evolve over there.
I mean, one thing about my team and Hot Wheels in general is that we learn from wins, we learn from losses, we take chances, we're not afraid of risk, and whenever you try something new, whether that be in your industry or for you as an individual, as a creative, or for your company, there's going to be a risk there, So we took some chances over the last 4.5 years, 5 years, and learned from some of those things. I mean, I think one of the big learnings was just price point. Sometimes a lot of the tech-enabled type toys and experiences usually come at a higher price. So something like tech mods at $50, that was a learning there where we applied that. We're like, hey, where can we kind of tweak this a little bit, And that's one example of trying to continue to pivot, continue to evolve, and continue to progress and really deliver play for our consumer at the end of the day, it comes down to play. You know, you could have AR, VR, MR, what RR, I don't, you know, and it really just comes down to what is that driving component that keeps kids engaged, that wants to, you know, wanting them to come back for more. That's what we're focused on.
Thank you. Sorry.
That's okay.
Austin allergies are. I'm not getting emotional here. It's just allergies. No, thank you for explaining that. So Zai, you know, we talked about the incredible speed to market that you guys are having with Saint Noir. Can you tell us about some of the other gameplay experiences that are in the queue?
Yeah. So this is like 12 and up, and so right now we're working with a game that's for 3 and up. So we're working with different genres and different, you know, futuristic to different storytelling devices in different ages. So adult games to children's games to, you know, casual games. So we're trying to discover a couple new ways of doing it, and I think none of them will ever be the same. So this is not a format. This is more about like taking the stepping stones to the next piece and keep on going with it. So if it's something to do with like a board, this one is necessary that it's a board game the way that the story in the town is. Something for the children's game might be more with a deck of cards, or we're using video with it or something like that. So we're discovering all that right now, and you know, we don't have a launch date for that specifically, but we will complete it this year for the kids game. We have a mark of 5 games that we want to do on the platform of voice that we've already kind of mapped out, and you know, in between all that, we want to build out, you know, some other immersive stuff that right now we're not speaking about, but we really want to. I think in a couple months I'll make an announcement on that. So.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, like launching with Saint Noir and then having the breadth, right, to have that family game experience, and then also breadth in terms of not only voice but the other, you know, immersive areas that you guys are doing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's taking, you know, story into different parts. You know, it doesn't have to only be in voice, but I think that's one component that could really help. I mean, where we're going right now, and you look at technology, you look at autonomous cars and you see how amazing that's going to be in the future, and I'm like, well, wouldn't it be cool if I could just use my voice and paint on the windows and be able to draw and play games right there, and that would be awesome. I want that, you know. So those are the things like I hope to inspire too in the next 10 years of how gaming, you know, the evolution of gaming, because right now it's like we have all this tech that's serious tech, and I want to be playful about it. You know, that's where I come from, entertainment, so I want to take that advanced tech and kind of take that component and just play around with it. And so I feel like that's my job is in entertainment, to make it fun. So.
One of the things we talked about, I think it was gaming technology? Is that the term that you guys use? Or gamifying technology, yes. When we were talking, and like how share a little bit of that idea about that sort of gamifying tech.
Well, I mean, gamifying technology is really about what exactly that we're doing right now. We see us as taking all components that are out there and then starting to discover how we could gamify it. It's pretty simple concept. It's just that we just feel like by doing that, we're using existing platforms and we're trying to twist it a little bit. If we need a module or something with it, then we'll discover it and we'll figure it out. I mean, this is in time, but we feel like if these are things that are accessible to us in everyday life, and let's put some entertainment into it. So.
And then, John, from your perspective, you know, one of the things with SwapBots that I think is really interesting, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think it's launched yet, but you kind of were experimenting with that, just like kids play with Overwatch and Fortnite. Weren't you guys sort of exploring that kind of social gameplay with SwapBots?
Yeah, I think the social part of video games is really is really kind of critical now. The challenge often is that it's the level of interaction that we can give to kids when communicating with each other. You've got things like COPPA compliance and GDPR-K in Europe. So while kids love being able to engage with each other online or in any experience, there are challenges that come with that to be able to keep them safe as well. So, within SwapBots, the battles and the other games that you play, you kind of go on journeys together, whether you're in the room together physically or anywhere around the world. But I say beyond, there is no verbal communication, so it's gestures and play. It's interesting. My eldest kid, he plays Fortnite a lot, but I actually think he goes on there more like a chat room, and they're playing a game, but they don't really care whether winning or losing. They are communicating with each other, through dance, avatars, actual verbal communication in that sense. But I think we were very keen to keep the social element in there and build on that. The starting point, it is very much that. I think going back to that idea that connected play, that how that creates change in things like a very traditional toy market. I think video games works in a way. Games are a service that they evolve continuously. Toys, you put them on the shelf and you hope you didn't get something wrong. So with this, we've got both situations. We've got to make sure the product on the shelf is right, but the video game evolves so that there's much more play value in it. And I think that is it's a challenge from because if it goes very well, if it's a success, you've got to get more content out quickly. If it's not going well, then you've got other problems to solve. But yeah, I think that there is a bigger kind of conversation around, the toy market. It's had tough years basically, but I think things like connected play is starting to shape and change it. I say it's a losing battle between video games versus toys in a sense, and I think that there is the time is coming where people are starting to not try, and it's not one or the other. Kids will kind of win out when in the way that they want to play, and most kids are having access to tablets from kind of ages 1 and 2, and that's a difficult thing to get off. They are digital natives in the truest sense. So it's a kind of looking at toys and looking at board games, tabletop games, and understanding how these two things come together, I think is exciting for us.
Well, and that's what I think is really interesting about what Gerry and team are doing, because again, like being a 50-year-old brand and having these video game experiences, and you guys obviously did that with Augmoto, and really that idea of video gaming the world. So it is that kind of fusion of, it's not really toys and games or video games. I mean, how kids behave, it could be from the tablet to the mobile device to the Xbox to whatever game, and they don't see it that way. It's just play. Yeah. So how are you guys coming about those kind of physical digital experiences?
I mean, I think for us, my team, we try and start with the physical experience primarily, and we try and understand that, and then we just kind of we look to technology to amplify that experience. What else could you do? What would a kid want to do if the kid was right here? How do they extend from there? But again, like we talk about out of the box, like with some of our toys, we have you need the device right out of the gate. We also have some where you don't need the device, and so that's something that we're looking at too, in terms of like making sure that the kid is, again, primary, and that there's not a situation where the kid is stuck without the ability to play with something. That's where our mindset is
as soon as they get it, they can just start playing. And with this, what was really cool is that you just right out of the box, and it's a build experience, and it is that very maker experience. So if you are an older child, and you are a builder, it's a really cool way to just kind of get hands-on, build it, and then have it kind of go.
Yeah. And this is just the beginning. We have a lot of fun in store for Tech Mods, and a lot of great thinking that we want to get out there, and a lot of features that we want to continue to build on, and we see this as a longer term toy and play experience, and the future looks good, I hope.
Well, and one of the things, so when I was, people have seen a couple of the articles going out sort of yesterday, today about this talk specifically, and I've had people like messaging. They're like, Val, Mattel's doing something on Indiegogo? ? Yeah. I'm like, yeah, we'll see the panel, but tell us about that. Yeah, if there's anything. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, with Indiegogo, it's a first for Hot Wheels. We are, Indiegogo obviously has a base of, tech-savvy consumers, and in this idea of, testing and learning and iterative design and development, it was like a perfect kind of matchup. And we're launching with them next month, and we're going to use that time from kind of Indiegogo to our path to e-commerce or brick and mortar. We'll use that time to continue to gain more insights about our consumers, how kids are playing with this on a more mass scale, and then tweak and tune those experiences and new updates and new hardware and new software, into 2020 and beyond. So.
Well, I think it's awesome, especially being Mattel, right? And the fact that you guys are kind of jumping in and being nimble. It's interesting because oftentimes I'll hear from, say, medium-sized companies, like maybe they've had a couple of successful products, and it's like, we have to get to retail. We have to get to retail, which, as we know, like with Toys R Us kind of going away, it puts some toy companies in a predicament. But if you really look at how consumers are behaving and how they're shopping, I think it's just awesome. But that you guys have reacted to kind of the modern day consumer. So getting something out there fast, learning from it, going e-commerce, then how much are we actually going to order and put in the store, right? Yeah,
it's interesting. I mean, when you talk about small companies and that drive, that quest to retail, for us, I mean, Mattel and Hot Wheels has the fortunate situation where we are at retail and we've been there for a long time, and that's a very serious, major component to our business, obviously. But for us to then kind of try these other paths, it's in some ways it poses a different challenge, similar to that of a small company trying to get into retail. Like, it is different, and it does. I mean, it's been fun from CES till now, and talking to the guys and gals at Indiegogo, and there is something kind of fresh and different that I hope that we can build on and continue to use that as a platform to get to our consumer, to do more things like this, and I'm excited about it. The team's excited about it.
Well, and yeah, it's like even now, if there was, I mean, you guys are at a point now, it's not on Indiegogo yet. So, I mean, technically, you're probably learning with having the product in people's hands. Like, you can make updates now.
Yeah.
So, like, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And similarly, John, from your end, you guys had a Kickstarter. So, can you share a little bit about that experience and what you guys have learned? And
yeah, I mean, I think our experience would be very different because we were. Crowdfunding is a really, really interesting world, and I think the thing we didn't realize at the beginning was the reality is that you're bringing your own crowd. So I think that for Hot Wheels to go into that kind of space is amazing because from the parents, from a nostalgia point of view, to the kind of kids just still engaging with the brand today, it makes a lot of sense. And I think that the communities that exist within Kickstarter and Indiegogo. They are early adopters, so they are more understanding. You ship something, and there's some elements that are a bit clunky, and a few bugs here and there. They're not going to go to Amazon and give you a 1-star review, which is damaging in an age where a lot of product is sold through those channels. So yeah, I think our experience was much like the whole journey we went on, was we just kept coming to things that we'd never done. And eventually we figured out that we just needed to hire people that had done them, which, that took us too long to figure that out. But it's a challenge. Like when you're self-funding these projects, that you kind of go, well, it can't be that hard. And then you go, actually, it's 10 times harder than it actually thought it would be. but yeah, it's still very worthwhile. I think that we had some great advice from, too late for us, but great advice nonetheless. Was I think that you need to be building out that campaign kind of 6 months advance of actually going live on these platforms, and shows like this, if you got an early version of your products, South by is a great place to show it, get kind of consumer interest, get interest from retail buyers, from distributors. But yeah, I think that those platforms are amazing tools to use, and I know that it's really prominent in the video games and board games as well. Like that, but they're exactly the people you want your products in the hands of first, because you're going to get that feedback before you go and sit on a shelf in Target or wherever. I think that to be honest, that's now our current problem is we've had a lot of interest from retailers, but we have no data on how we would sell through. So aligning the marketing campaign to actually having products on our shelves, particularly in an area where it's really a tech-driven experience. So this needs an Alexa and this needs a phone really, and likewise we need a phone or tablet. So in a retail environment, there are exceptions to that. There are stores where you can have a demo station set up, but that's not cheap, and they'll take a big chunk of the margin. But I think that the starting point, Indiegogo, Kickstarters, they fulfill a lot of the issues that we have in bringing tech products to market, or these crossover products, I think.
And interestingly, one of the things that actually all the guys here have supported is Collabsco. We actually have a program in collaboration with Toyology in the UK, and it's called Tech Up. And it really spawned from this idea of seeing a lot of startups not having the ability to go to all the different events, one, and then two, their kind of core chief product officer or CEO in some cases being out of the office if they were at these events, and then they couldn't kind of get on with getting the product moving because they were out of the office and everything. And then also trying to have the affordability of getting a lot of real-time feedback. So one of the things that we've done, we are at Wired Live in London, CES, and John, actually there's some cool footage, interview with John on the stage there talking about it. And then here, we're actually having a meetup tomorrow with some really cool connected play products, 3:30 tomorrow. So all these guys will be there and they'll have the products there tomorrow. But one of the things that we did with Tech Up, it wasn't just the case of having a presence at these events. It was really about getting these products into people's hands. And then from our perspective, we're bringing those, we have the option to bring those insights and learnings back to our partners. And it's from a different perspective. So it might be, we might see something, how people are having a play experience, or maybe it's how when they're taking it out of the box, or it might be how they're feeling or interacting with the cards or with SwapBots, like maybe they're playing with it in a different way. And so really using Tech Up as a test bed from this event perspective and early development.
Yeah, I think like Tech Up's been really good. I think it's unless you've got a dedicated evangelist who's just out there showing your product constantly, you need to find people. You need to be in the right places. So, like the great thing with Tech Up is that they're there. Whether it's CES, Toy Fair, or Wired Live, it's finding places where there is an interest. And again, going back to Kickstarter and Indiegogo, that is, that's where these people are residing, and it's finding them because they become your advocates as well, which is a huge part of growing out knowledge of the product. So.
That kind of inner fandom. So Zai, share with us a little bit about some of the learnings that you've had as you guys were creating Saint Noir, and as you're creating these other products.
Well, my experience doing it is that we just want to have fun doing it, and that's first and foremost, and play around and discover. So we basically took our approach and made sure that we built everything around a core team that we love all of us to work with, because we're going to spend day and night together, and make sure we have all these pieces of story and graphics and all the marketing and all the visuals. So like when we started this, it was important for me to make sure that we hired actors. And so we hired 13 actors, and the actors basically play their different roles. We casted them through a casting agency that gave us a whole bunch of voices to really sift through, and also visually to see how they were acting on it. Even though it's just voice, we wanted to make sure they had a performance, because we felt that, you know, if they didn't have a performance, that it would just be someone speaking. We wanted to make sure they could push this town and make it real, and see if we could actually, for you and everyone, to visualize this town in their own mind. That was really important for me, because I'm such a visual person that I needed to see and all these aspects of this town and all the voices, and even see how the detective's dressed and imagine what he's wearing. It was super important. So once we found the right cast, we recorded it on a sound stage, and we also will start on our social media, start to share some of that, you know, showing behind the scenes and all that, which will be really cool. So once we had all that formed, you know, we started with the engineers. We had 2 engineers that were, you know, coding and figuring out how this, and we had sound. So they were engineers that were working with Alexa exclusively, and then we had sound engineers that were working as, you know, composers and sound mixing. And so we brought all those parties together with actually a film director and myself as chief creative, and we all sat down with the writer to make sure that we had all these components together to drive this story and branch it in different areas. So if one character, the detective, so we would have, you know, different outcomes of, you know, ways of how he would respond, and it will branch outward, and each character had the same thing, so all the combinations will match. And it was really important for us that it felt seamless between each character that speaks, and it feels very seamless. And for you to speak and make those choices. So inside the game, you are able to, you know, question anyone and ask, you know, go to a town, go to, you know, the local sheriff's office, and ask to discover a weapon. And so we wanted to make sure that all this was accessible for someone to be able to question anything they wanted. I mean, there's a limit to how many questions you could ask, but at the same time, you know, this is a learning curve for us, that we wanted to expand the openness of what are the best scenarios of the outcome of the game. So we wanted to make it complicated enough that you can't just win it. And we also wanted to make it, we made it at first when we were discovering it, we made it so long that it was taking like 2-3 hours to, we were like, no one's gonna sit here 3 hours just trying to play this game. And so we shortened it up, and we made sure that it could be, you know, in between, you know, hardcore to casual, and it's kind of set right in the middle. You know, it's a 30-minute game. I mean, you could discover it in 5 minutes if by luck, really. But to really figure it out will be a longer term. But we made sure that it's replayable, and that you're dealing with different casts and different people. Every voice is different. No one's the same. And you don't hear Alexa's native voice throughout the whole game, not once. It's all different voices from actors. So it was really fun to, you know, put this together and perform it all, and work with engineers and everyone that was involved. So yeah, it was super fun.
Thanks. And so I think we have a few more minutes here. So we talked about all of the toys of today, or the toys of the near future, since everybody here, the toys here, but it's not available yet. So a cool sneak peek of the toys soon to be, maybe. So like, let's take it further and take it to the future. So I'd love to hear, you know, perspective from each of you. You know, how you see the future. No, I don't want to put a time on it. You know, some people say in 5 years, in 10 years. Just what does the future of play, what does the future of toys look like? So I'll start with you, John.
So I guess we get to work with a lot of kind of high-end immersive technology. So whether it's you know, Magic Leap, HoloLens 2, you know, AR wearables, I think are really interesting, because one of the barriers with the way that we play these toys right now are we're putting a screen in front of the toy. And I think the ideal would be that there are no screens, or something that we can wear. And that seems like a long way off just for regular consumers, let alone kids. But seeing what Nintendo have, they're now taking Labo, the whole cardboard maker product, and they're doing a VR headset for it. So already you're seeing VR kind of entering kind of into the world for kids. I think it'll be interesting when AR gets to that point and how we can then better connect the augmented layer with the physical. We're not looking to replace toys. We're looking to extend them and really tell those stories around the toy. So for me, I mean, it's still a really complicated process. Doing it at this scale is hugely complicated. So being able to then take it to any form factor toy and then have live VFX within the play, I think kids would be absolutely, would love to do that. That would be, maybe 10 years out, but I think we're going to see a lot more of those technologies over the next few years. So I'm excited to see how they combine.
And then Gerry, share with us,
So, I mean, from Hot Wheels looking at that from that perspective, I mean, a lot of similarities from what John had just mentioned. AR wearables, more of immersive experiences. We're excited about voice also. What are these? You can imagine a scenario where when you're in your living room or your bedroom and you're just talking through a Hot Wheels race experience of some kind, and that excites us. And just looking to eliminate wherever the friction points are. That's what we're really trying to focus in on. Continuing to build out gaming experiences. Like Hot Wheels has a vast portfolio. So I mean, there's areas where we're doing full-on games and mobile games and stuff like that. I think we'll continue to be in that space. And from a connected standpoint, I mean, we've got aside from tech mods, there's all kinds of things that we're working on that can't talk about right now, but maybe next year. But using technology to eliminate the friction point, that's what we're honed in on.
And Zai, one of the things, so the first time I saw you and Nolan was at the Alexa conference earlier this year. And one of the things that you guys talked about, I think it was Nolan that said that he likes living in the future.
Yes.
So I take it as partners, you must like living in the future too.
I do.
So as a guy who lives in the future, or really wants to live in the future, like how do you see the world in the future?
Well, I helped paint that picture a little bit in Iron Man with Jarvis. So I really want to see that. That's what I want to see right now. I want to see being able to walk around and be able to see UI information and see visuals right in front of me and mix reality, and now taking that and be part of that, gamification. I know people will take it for good use and some, high level stuff. And I just want to play with it. I was, able to participate in bringing that to the silver screen, and I want to see that in our physical world now. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Cool. So I think we're almost at time. If there's any sort of last minute things you guys want to share with the audience, please remind everybody of your key dates when they can come and buy, etc. these products.
Yeah, so check Tech Mods is going to be available or launched on Indiegogo next month. We're looking to ship in May, June, as soon as possible after that. And thank you for your interest. Give it a shot. I'm happy to play with you guys tomorrow, answer your questions today, but happy to conduct some racing, some real-time racing here at South by, and have some fun with that.
I have my car too, so we can totally have some races.
All right, cool.
And then Zai, for you?
Yeah. Well, I want to thank everyone. I'm so fortunate to be on stage with all these futurists. I mean, these are future thinkers. So thank you, and thank you.
Likewise.
Right now with Saint Noir, it's on pre-orders on Amazon, and the website is live. It's called saintnoir.com. And we're looking forward to expanding and exploring new things in the future, and also talking about this a little bit more in the next week to come. So thank you.
And so pre-order now, and then July is there?
You can pre-order now, and it will ship by July or before. Right now it's stated at July 18th, but we think it's going to be weeks before that.
Okay.
We just want to make sure with the manufacturer. No later.
And SwapBots, we're kind of being retail in January 2020. We are looking at expanding our kind of alpha and beta program right now. So if you go to swapbots.toys, you can sign up, and I say we're kind of taking a few more people into the program just to sort of get toys out there and play test a lot of it. So just if you want to follow the journey, yeah, it's swapbots.toys, and yeah, we'll see where it goes. Hopefully, we'll be augmenting everything, and the future is going to be a lot of fun, I think. But yeah, thanks for everyone's getting to sit on there with these great people and talk to you wonderful people in Austin. It's been awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you everyone here for attending. And also, as everybody mentioned, tomorrow we are having a meetup. So we're gonna have tech mods there. We're gonna have SwapBots. We may have the Saint Noir. Yes. Yep. So we'll have Saint Noir there. We also have a couple of other cool toys in our bag. So there's a Mechamon. The first AR gaming robot. So if you want to play with one of those, awesome. We're going to have one of those at the meetup. And then WowWee has a new product out. So Mad Labs, which is kind of these fun, squishy things. And we also have some augmented reality dinosaurs that we're going to be playing with. So it's going to be like total fun and games tomorrow. So look on the schedule, come to the meetup. And then afterwards, we'll be available for any questions. So please come say hi, connect, play with some toys. We love it. So thank you all again so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Val.
Yeah.